What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in. It's the Brass Ring Media Podcast for Tuesday, January 7th, 2024. 2025. I did it right last week, and this week I'm all off. Oh my gosh. What's going on? Thanks so much for dropping in. I'm Zach Haydorn, your host. That's Tyler Sage, your other host. We're from Brass Ring Media, and we are here on the One True Sport YouTube channel with the Brass Ring Media Podcast. Tyler, what's up, dude?
Hey. A little show last night. I'm sure we'll talk about it for a second at least. But, I don't know if I'd be buying any stock in whatever, Make America Beer Again or whatever Hulk Hogan's product is. So, but yeah, it was quite the night. Similar things. I'm curious, like if someone was out there and compared, because that was on our new home as well, where we compared like how AEW handled the new audience on Max versus how WWE did it on Netflix. So like the comparisons there, I didn't read your report. I try not to read what you write about things, so I don't like just have all the answers to the quiz.
There you go.
Curious where it is, but I think we were both like we're pretty fair. Like we're one of the many podcasts that is not like, hey, AEW's great, WWE sucks, or vice versa. We're like, call it as we see it on everything. I think we're pretty good about that. Hopefully all our new listeners will learn that as well. But I'm curious what like the correlation between the two companies and their messaging to the new audience that they hope to get, if we're going to be similar on that.
I just made a little note here to like kind of talk big picture about that, because it is interesting. Just the dynamic of all of a sudden, like you've got no pro wrestling company that's really like, quote unquote on a streaming platform. And now all of a sudden, just like that, both of them are. And, it's a good thing for both, but I think both approached it in very different ways, in my opinion. So I'm curious as to like, your overall thoughts. So we're going to talk a lot about Raw. We're going to talk a lot about Raw last night. We'll talk a lot about, comparing to AEW on Max, but mainly Raw, because it was a big night. And we'll start here. You can and should say a lot about WWE throughout the years. Currently, I mean, there's a lot of, just like any major corporation, there's a lot of like just question marks in certain areas of the organization. You had Hulk Hogan out there last night. You got Lee Fitting, the guy, who's producing TV shows, all these, just terrible allegations from his time at ESPN. I mean, all that's there. And so we've debated that on the show, and we haven't debated it. We've discussed it and called them out on it on this show. We'll continue to do so. But one of the things that you have to sit back, and if you put that stuff aside about WWE, and I think one of the things you have to do is sit back and go, man, they know how to make big things feel big. That was like one of the biggest takeaways that I had last night, was like, just like, you knew it was going to be an epic night to begin with, right? It's on Netflix, the new Raw, the new year, big stars, a really good card. But then like you tune in and it's just this grandiose presentation. There's drones flying around the building. There's drones flying from the outside of the building inside the dang place. It shoots great. The little light up LEDs on the seats, helped the presentation and made it look just unique and new. Even though it wasn't, I mean, it was Raw, it was a WWE show, but it had that like fresh coat of paint. And I think like, to me, like WWE last night gets an A for that presentation. Like so much so that I don't know that the show in the end, like lived up to the hype that was set for it, like with all that going on. But I thought like my biggest takeaway was like the game changed in terms of like that just production status. Like there's levels to this, and there always has been, but this was like a major level up. And obviously they can't do it like this every week because they don't have the Intuit Dome to take with them wherever they go. They're going to be, in like very, smaller cities and rightfully so. They need to tour around, but boy, I thought they made good on making it feel like Netflix was the new home. It felt like a new era, looked like a new era. and we need to talk about the content of the show, and we will. But presentation wise, I thought that was like expertly done at a very, very high level throughout the night. And you, my friend, might be on mute. Maybe it's me. Oh man, all of a sudden I can't hear you. Folks in the chat, can you hear Tyler talking? Or did I just talk so much that I broke the system here? Someone in the live chat, let me know if you can hear Tyler. Just thumbs up or thumbs down. Nope. Yeah. Oh, all right. So it's just me. It's just me in 2 frames. So anyway, I'll keep going. I'll keep going on that because I've been like kind of nerding out for this, last night. I think when you think about WWE, like having a new fresh show, right? Or like a new fresh, how do I put this? Like a new fresh partner, a new fresh look. All right, let's see. Wait, Tyler's back here. Let's see if he's.
It said it was working, so I assume you can hear me.
You're back.
Okay, cool.
We got you. We got you.
Who knows what happened?
All right, so I'm going to throw to you for your comments, and I'll finish mine in a second, guys. But go ahead, Tyler. Your thoughts
I mean, just like from the presentation standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like beyond wrestling companies, because that's like a no contest, right? It's like what other consistent live event or anything is like, yeah, I guess the Super Bowl would be on par with like last night's
like Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah. But like even that is like, I don't know, like what they did with with every tool they had, they used, right?
Yeah,
the
right.
Curtain thing that dropped and the drones making the symbols, like we've seen that everywhere before too. But like maybe besides the NFL or the World Cup final or anything like that, like there's really nothing that is on the comparison level of what WWE is doing currently with the production. And you just can't undersell that enough. I mean, that was kind of the critique of the company for a long time, that the sizzle's always been there, but the steak was never on par at certain points. But, I think both are at the time. And it was definitely more sizzle than steak last night. I mean, there's still lots of going on the show.
Yes.
But still like an enjoyable show to watch too. It was not like a bad show. So, but yeah, all that stuff is like, there's no other opinion I can have than, you just can't not be impressed by everything they do. And and then also a good reason why you don't want a million celebrities and like suits, because did you see it like 9:30, 9:45 when they did the pan out and there was like all those like special seats were all empty?
Front row,
I did. So not ideal there, but to have that many fans, all that stuff, right? So
so the presentation part I really liked. I think of course WWE has to be careful with the infomercial, like commercial for WWE during these live shows, and I give them some leeway yesterday because yesterday was a historic night. It's a big night. That's a time where you can kind of puff your chest a bit, but obviously they can't make a practice of this because it will get old very quick. We've seen that in WWE. So hopefully they've learned their lesson with that. But I think last night though, that's a night where you puff your chest and you make a big deal out of it and you make it seem as huge as possible. And that's that. That's that, and that's okay on that night. But they can't make a practice with that. So, what do you expect? Like we're talking like visual presentation, we're talking production, and we're also stipulating that last night they had this state of the art building to work with and work around and utilize, to their advantage. They're not going to have that every week. So what elements of last night from a production presentation standpoint do you expect them to kind of carry on with, or that can carry on, that can keep the show like Netflix era Raw, but also within the reality of, hey, not every building is like the Intuit Dome, because that's going to be the trick.
Yeah. There's all you can do. I mean, we're stuck obviously with the apron. We saw that on Friday as well. the black one for Raw and the blue one for SmackDown. I didn't pop on NXT. Do they have a branded apron?
I didn't pop on that either. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I wonder if they do have like a yellow one, or a multicolored one. But yeah, that's there. But yeah, I mean, like all the little video package stuff they did, I thought was a nice touch to like redefine it, like showing the results throughout the night, where like the winner was highlighted, the other one was grayed out, and like they've always been back and forth. Like they've done the moving, like Hogan versus Shawn Michaels, where they're like doing their thing and then they turn into a freeze frame image. Like there's a lot of that last night in the but like all that is good, right? I mean, obviously they're taking a lot here from like NFL coverage of stuff.
Yeah.
Where they do a lot of that too, but then they do like the lame, like on Fox, they'll score the touchdown and there's the weird like caricature of the athlete and like just like a weird choice. And so there's all those little touches that they'll move up and down. And for those that haven't listened to us on this channel before, I'm not the world's biggest Pat McAfee fan. I think him and Cole as a team are not the strongest team possible for WWE in this spot. But what's good for business is not always what's best for business, I guess. Like best for my ears, not what's best for business for WWE too. So there's a couple changes I would make there, but just that overall presentation, the cut twos, they're not gonna have that sweet board everywhere, but yeah, just like the graphics, the imaging, all that stuff is very new and different and in the theme song. So yeah, all that's gonna stay, but yeah, they're not gonna have people with wristbands that light up everywhere or drones making Seth Rollins logo. But and also that stage is not gonna be that way, which I like for big events. But I wonder what that stage looks like in a normal arena where that whole side of the building is cut off too. Because that's more like, do I like this stage or do I not? So we'll have to wait until they're in San Jose.
Well, yeah, because that stage, the one they had last night, looks cool if there's people up above it and behind it. But if because sometimes they run that stage in the Allstate Arena, which is in Chicago here, and when you're in there and they've got the stage set up like that, but there are no seats back there, it does look weird. Now they'll shoot the heck out of it, and obviously you won't be able to tell that really on TV, but the magic of that stage is when you get like the full bowl of the arena like filled up, and which is what they had last night. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Netflix bought Raw. That they want Monday Night Raw, and WWE's job is to put on a good show that people want to watch, that people want to subscribe to Netflix to see, and keep it freshen it up. And I think that's what they have. They've got the new imaging. They can flex their muscle a little bit when they are in buildings that, allow you to do that. But if not, you can lean back on that imaging. You can lean back on the ring apron. You can lean back on all of that different tone, different music. And I think you still get like a nice Netflix era vibe of the show. So yeah, it was a good night at the office to them. And I don't know, like, I guess I wasn't really, I was surprised a little bit because it looked so darn good, but I shouldn't have been, because they do. If there's one thing that they do right consistently, it's stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Let me set the table for the show here real quick. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. This is the Brass Ring Media Podcast. We're live here on the One True Sport YouTube channel. Brass Ring Media is a wrestling analysis and discussion outfit that Tyler and I that we started building a couple years, 18 months ago now, or thereabouts. And we are pumped to bring our live content to One True Sport. We still are doing all sorts of different stuff at Brass Ring Media. So if you are listening to the show and you can head over to the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel and subscribe there, that would be great. We also offer Brass Ring Media membership for $4 a month. That's all it is. You can head to Patreon, and each week our members get a member-only show from us. You get all of our pay-per-view and PLE review shows that we do for our members exclusively. You get access to our member-only Discord, full access to our written newsletter, and also odds and ends stuff and content that pop up. So I very much hope that you guys, if you're new to us, give us a chance. You can sign up for free for a week and test us out, see what we're all about over there with Brass Ring Media membership. I hope that you do. As far as One True Sport goes, we're super pumped to join the team here and be able to talk to the One True Sport audience. And it's a pleasure to be here. So if you're catching us for the first time, thanks for showing up, and we hope to keep your attention here week in and week out. This show is live Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesday evenings like this and Thursday afternoons, usually around 3 Eastern. So you can catch the show twice. We've also have other shows that pop up throughout the week that are live Brass Ring Media shows. The Kick-Ass podcast is a Saturday morning show that will now be live on One True Sport with Ashley Mann. She does a tremendous job. If you missed her show or you haven't heard it yet, seen it yet, you gotta check it out. It's one of the best thing going. Really pumped to have her on the team. Robert Vallejos is our Nocturnal Knockout host, so he takes care of the late night duties. Last night he was live with a post show immediately following Raw, and took all your comments and questions and broke down the whole show just seconds or minutes after the show went off the air. So you can check that out all up on the One True Sport YouTube page right now. As far as today goes, guys, the live chat is open, and we've got quite a fun batch of folks in there. Daniel's in there, and E is in there, Mike and Tracy and Zach, Sean and Darren and others. So it's open. Have a blast, and we will keep an eye on that live chat to make sure that we can catch all your comments, and we'll try to do what we can to get them up. The one way to ensure that you guys can get your question asked and answered or your comment made is by dropping us a super chat. It's kind of the lifeblood of Brass Ring Media, and any little bit helps that you can throw our way in the tip jar, and we'll make sure to get your question answered, your comments read out loud and addressed. Helps us out big time, and helps the show out too. So that is open right now. We've got one in there from Zach, which is a really good one and a poignant one for right now as we talk about all this WWE stuff. So Zach, I see that there. Thank you, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. All right, with the business out of the way here, let's start talking some of the content of the show. You had Triple H open it. No surprise there. Like when the curtain fell down, I was like, of course Triple H is in that thing. Like his ego just couldn't allow anyone else to be in there. Were you surprised by that, or par for the course, Tyler?
No, and if you like, who else would you put in there too? Like, right. To play devil's advocate here, it's like, like what The Rock said. Like, I think The Rock was pretty genuine with a lot of stuff last night, and we'll get into his promo or his realness. I think we can debate that in the coming weeks, the real versus the whatever word they used for kayfabe when they did that presentation there. But I mean, he's locked things down, and the company's like creatively in a much healthier place than it was with Vince running it and all that sort of stuff, right? Like it's where it is a lot, not entirely, of course, and I don't think Triple H would tell you that either. But yeah, I mean, I've been hard on him just like all of us have, but he does feel like the face of WWE from like a behind the scenes standpoint. So him being there, being a legend, makes sense. Better than him being like out there with Shawn Michaels doing crotch chops.
Totally. Yeah. Like these days, because we're all so scarred from Triple H, hogging the spotlight for so many years. I think like, you can kind of look at his stuff and go, oh man, oh no, it's Triple H. And if he was out there as Triple H, like the character, I think I would be, but I prefer Triple H, the corporate guy. I prefer Triple H, the mature-ish corporate guy who's just gonna, put over the company, and that's what that spot was for. So I know people kind of rolled their eyes and joked about it on social media and whatnot, but I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. The Rock, however, that's an interesting study because, man, I don't know. Like it's one of those things where the reality is, and the bottom line is, well, first let me just ask this: what did you think of his promo? Like, what did you think of that show? Not the Roman stuff later, but just the promo itself to open the show. I'll leave it open-ended.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. Like as a, I don't know, TV critic, if I had never watched wrestling, it's like a good like table setter for like, hey, this is like an important guy. When you talked about Cody, and you're talking about Roman, right? He's the biggest name, so he's like talking about these guys that you should care about the way that you care about him. As like a fan or as an analyst, it's okay. He's definitely not going to WrestleMania based on his actions here and then at this night. So it's like the only time we're going to see him for a long time. But yeah, everything else it felt kind of non-essential, I guess is how I would describe it. Like him just kind of going up there without a plan. And yeah, there's a plan to like talk about Cody. There's a moment there, but kind of just like thrown together and just, thanking Netflix and all that stuff. It's hard to quantify it. So I've, 3 different ways to look at it here, but it was okay, but left me wanting a lot more and left me wanting to see the character of the final boss. That's probably stole your thunder there by your reaction there, and not wanting to see Dwayne Johnson. I watched the Golden Globes the night before, and that's like the same guy that was there in the ring. So I don't know. You assume he's going to come back to that. He's got the People's Championship title belt, which is confusing on itself. And yeah, it's just he's not the final boss. He's just Dwayne. So it was interesting, but didn't kill the show or anything for me.
Yeah, look, it definitely didn't kill the show for sure. Like, and so let's not overstate it. But I do think that there's a good point in what you're saying is like when WWE, if they get a chance to get The Rock, they should get The Rock every time. At this point, he's the biggest star that they have access to, and he's just a huge global megastar. So if you get him. And you have a chance to get him, you get him and you use him. And whatever that means, it means. If that means, you're rewriting scripts at the last minute, okay, so be it. Yeah, he probably can't swoop in like he tried to do last year with WrestleMania because that didn't work. But like you work around it and you figure out something that works because you have The Rock and so you go with it. The difference, the thing that I think they have to remember is like you paid for access to The Rock. Like to your point, not Dwayne Johnson, Golden Globes guy. Like I think people want to see The Rock. Otherwise, The Rock's appearances aren't going to matter as much anymore. Like, it's not fun to watch Rock. I mean, it won't be repeatedly fun for an audience to watch The Rock go out there and praise Netflix and talk about Ari Emanuel and talk about how, audience, you paid the most ever for this gate.
Yeah.
Hoity, hoity, hoy. Like, that's not The Rock that people want to see. And I think what was cool about last year was you got to see The Rock do his thing as a pro wrestler, as a character. Like he wasn't last year like caricature Rock, who's like, finally this and finally that. And if you smell what The Rock is cooking, he had some layers. There was some depth. There was something new. It was fun to see him in that role. And last night you just got him as this guy who's like, okay, Rock, we want you to go out there and we want you to just flash that $1 million eyebrow and talk good about everybody here. And it's like, okay, you can get away with that here and there, but like that's not what I think draws for him in the wrestling space, seeing him do that. I don't think people have interest in seeing that. So I'm like you, I thought the promo was okay, and the stuff with Cody, it's like, boy, normally like The Rock, I think, is a guy who you think of as a little bit forward thinking. Who can I do business with? Who can I make a lot of money with? And like, apparently he doesn't think that about Cody because he took a whole bucket of cold water and poured it right on top of like any kind of feud that they had. Like, Cody, I'm proud of you, buddy. Like, what? Okay. All right. I guess that's not going to be a WrestleMania match, to your point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just kind of was rolling my eyes at that part of it.
Yeah. And that's like him doing business for himself, of being like, I think him wanting to signal to people like us that, and everybody else that like, hey, don't book me coming in at 31 in the Rumble and be mad at me for no reason. Because I'm laying it out pretty clear. I'm not going to be there. You got John Cena this year, and we'll see about next year.
Yeah.
I'll be in Riyadh next year.
Oh my God. We're going to get to that soon.
Yeah.
Folks.
Okay, good.
I promise. So you did have Rock later in the show come out and, at the end of the Tribal Combat match with Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, let him come out. He kind of puts the Ulafala on Reigns, and they got to have a little bit of a stare down. And it seemed like I thought there was some good dramatic tension there. Where if they can kind of go to whatever angle they do there, it can go to that at any time at this point. I think that was set up not necessarily for this year, but at any moment where you have Rock, okay, we're going to go to Rock and Roman. Rock turns on Roman, and boom, like you're off to the races. I think they set that up with that encounter last night. So I think that was the best thing that The Rock did. But do you, like, taking into account the promo, taking into account what Cena did, taking into account what Rock did with Roman last night, are you completely dismissing Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 41 this year?
Yeah, for sure.
And why? Why no credence to that segment, the stare down?
Yeah, they would. This is the most viewed Raw they're probably going to have in the next 20 years, right? Is that safe to say?
That's true.
So if you're going to do something, you do it here.
Yeah.
And I think WWE's pretty good about maximizing on opportunity. So.
Well said. Yep. Good point. Glad I asked. So Roman beat Solo Sikoa. He's got the Ula Fala. He's the tribal chief. We surprised that's how they went that route. I mean, we previewed the show a little bit and tossed around various ideas. And I think we both landed on that Roman winning is certainly a strong possibility with a potential angle, but it wasn't last night. He won. He got the thing back, and sorry about your Solo, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly had its full bloodline match, full of chicanery, and then some, right? So, that was good. It's good for the audience that maybe hasn't checked in for a minute to be like, oh, okay, this is what wrestling is, which it is, right? I mean, that's not a WWE thing, right?
In the right spot.
It's to the nth degree, I think, with bloodline stuff, and it's a good way to show everybody. But yeah, I mean, it had to be Roman. We're all done with them. Even, watching SmackDown on Friday, when it's like, I was thinking in my head, like, how many times have I seen this match, the main event, the new bloodline and, the Uso and honorary Uso bloodline taking them on. It's just like, okay, like, we need something completely different here. And it made me think a lot, like, watching it, like, the way Roman was presented. I don't know about you, this is like kind of follow up on another question, but it seems like Roman is the Raw face and Cody's going to be the SmackDown face, right? That's kind of how this is going forward.
I think
where they're separated. Yeah. So, like, that might even be Solo's on SmackDown still, and all his guys, and all that stuff, right? So that's, like, yet to be determined. But that's more what I was thinking watching this, of like, well, yeah, I mean, I think Roman's going to win for sure. This is a solidification of getting a clean win in an unclean match, being being the tribal chief once more officially, all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's what they needed to do. Anything else would have been, I think, a big thumbs down, up to a disaster sort of situation.
Yeah. I was surprised too. I mean, I was surprised that it went down the way that it did. But then when it happened, I was kind of like, yeah, I may have been a little surprised, but they got that right. I think they got it right. Like, eventually you got to put Roman back in that spot. It's WrestleMania season, so whatever's going to happen with him at WrestleMania, you want him to be strongest. I mean, Solo Sikoa is not going to supplant him on that show. And if they're not going to wrestle each other on that show, then, Roman's got to go over it. He's got to go over strong. So I think it did what it needed to do. I thought the match was okay too. I liked the kind of the bloodline madness. They've gone there many times, but every time they do, it seems to pop the crowd and it makes those matches better. And so I think that's what you do. It had tribal combat stipulation. So I liked what they did. When I look at, I don't know, man, like when you look at the landscape of WrestleMania right now, it's kind of hard to figure out what Roman is going to do. If it's not Rock and it's not Cody, because I think Cody, we'll get to John Cena in a minute, but I think the two of them have a date with Destiny at WrestleMania. And, Punk's not the champion. So, like, I'm not sure, like, you could do that match at WrestleMania, yes. But, I mean, do you do it without the championship? I guess that's possible. Like, Gunther is there. I suppose you could go that route. But it's a little blurry for him now that he's wrapped up this thing with Solo Sikoa as to as to where he goes. Yeah, getting a lot of Punk in the chat, and that's out there. But I mean, again, is it for no title? Like it's just a singles match? Like I guess you could do that. It's just that I don't know. It seems to me like you'd want that you'd want the championship involved there, but
I mean, lots of time. I think we're not going to see Roman until the 27th.
Yes,
that's when the celebration is. So, you got time to let this sit with his character. He doesn't have to like go right on to somebody like another character would have to. So that's a positive for not showcasing him week in and week out as an act. But, you got the Shield Hunter out there who, has slayed 2 of the 3 members of the Shield. And you can easily heat that story up in its own way. I mean, the way Michael Cole, and I know I'm jumping here a little bit, but that's just for your answer. The way Michael Cole talked about Punk last night before the match started, of like his full, like unredacted bio, where I was like, oh, so is he a heel in this match? The way you just laid that out, which you just laid out facts. But, I think where Michael Cole stands on like, if he was a fan, who would he be cheering for?
Yeah.
Based on that. So, that's a story you can do. And I mean, Punk beating Gunther at this point makes total sense because he wasn't on the show and they're not using him. And maybe if you lose the title, there's like a window in the transfer portal. Him taking on Cody makes so much sense. And being, like if you have Cody and Gunther as your top 2 guys on Friday night, I think that fits pretty perfectly for what you're trying to do. And then you have all the other star power on Monday to make sure the Netflix thing is going well. So, yeah. So I think it's Punk and Roman. And I don't know who's champion. You could easily have Roman just be like, I'm taking on Gunther and beating him. Like, that's totally doable at the Rumble. Because only Cena has officially said he's in the Rumble. So, I mean, you could do that a 1-day build if you want. A 1-week build with that if you want to.
Yeah. All right, good. See, this is why I ask you questions like that. You're so wisdomous. That's not a word I know, Dad. I'm just kidding around. Let me get to a super chat here from Darren, who kind of is talking broadly. And Zach, I know yours is there, and we're gonna get to it. I just wanted to flow into the conversation here, but we will get into it. It's a great super chat. Well, it's not a great super chat, but it's an important super chat to make. So thank you. But here's Darren's. Darren says here, it seemed to me like WWE is moving away from narrative and more towards spectacle, which is how they started in the Hogan era in a way. Tyler, you buying or selling what Darren's saying there?
Yeah, I mean, to be determined. Obviously, last night you would be like, yeah, this is like WrestleMania 3, the equivalent of like pomp and circumstance that it was in 1987 is what that was last night in 2025. So certainly as like a 1-night thing, you couldn't argue that. What do they do going forward? If they do, like, if your co-main events are Cody and Cena and Roman and Punk, that is more towards a spectacle of like, hey, these are big names. We don't know if we can do this again next year, so let's do it. And it's not like, a Gunther as a redemptive babyface in 2026, maybe going on a run and taking out a heel, which is more like a narrative than a spectacle because he's just not that kind of guy. A spectacle is Damian Priest against Logan Paul, right? As opposed to like a story. So yeah, I mean, that could be. I think it's a mixed bag. There's so much content that you can't just do like, hey, we have 1 hour on Saturday and then we do pay-per-views, right? So, and it's the exact opposite where you have 8 hours of content a week plus Saturday night's main event specials. You've got pay-per-views, all that stuff. So I think some bigger matches will be spectacles more than anything, but you're still going to need a lot of story around those shows. So it just depends how you look at it, right?
Yeah, Darren, I mean, I think you're definitely going to get a lot of spectacle. That's for sure. I mean, but I think what WWE wants to do is they want to have both. I think they're going to try their damnedest to cultivate an environment where the narratives can wrap up in something of a spectacle. Like that's what they want. That's That's the bread and butter. They're going to have a 2-night SummerSlam next year. They're going to have a 2-night WrestleMania this year and next year. Who knows, what the heck the Royal Rumble is going to look like next year in Riyadh. Like, spectacle is the end game. But in order for spectacle to be effective and to work the way they want it to in a real way, you got to have the narrative behind it. So I think they're going to try really hard to mesh that together. Because think about last night, if they had this card and if they had this show and you put their premiere on Netflix in, the doldrums of like 2017 WWE, like it doesn't have the same buzz. Like it just wouldn't have the same buzz. But here on this show, you had the culmination of the Roman and Solo thing that people very much cared about for most of 2024. You had Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, the culmination of that story, not only between those two, but with Dominic Mysterio also. You had John Cena kind of lay out his narrative for 2025 and what he's going to do and what his story is going to be. You had Seth Rollins and CM Punk, like them in this kind of feud, so to speak, that has gone on since last year since 2023 at Survivor Series. So all of that, like that narrative helped make yesterday's spectacle what it was. And so it's important for both of those things that you're speaking of there to go hand in hand. And, they're not going to hit on it, as well as they did last night every single time out. But I think that's going to be the goal. I definitely think that's going to be the goal. Thank you, Darren, for the super chat. We appreciate it. It means a lot, and it was a great question. So keep coming. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, and thanks for listening to the show today. Okay, we talked about John Cena, or I just mentioned John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go on a little bit of a John Cena rant, if you will.
Okay. A goodbye tour rant that starts this year. You got the whole year to rant. So,
well, this rant comes from a place of wanting his kind of goodbye tour to be like something actually memorable. Like, you look back on like certain John Cena things, you kind of roll your eyes, and other certain things like, man, that United States Open Challenge tournament, that run of matches that he had, that was good stuff, man. That was like really good stuff. Rock and Cena, that was good stuff. Cena like needs to take this seriously. Like, I don't understand the premise of yesterday's promo being like, I'm not going to be able to get a world title shot. Oh, wait, I totally forgot. The Royal Rumble is coming. How could I forget that? Or, oh my God, Elimination Chamber. That's how I'll get to a championship match. It's like, dude, like you're John Cena. Like they talk about you as you're the greatest of all time, and you're gonna have this one final run. Like, be an adult. I think that promo yesterday would have played so much better if you walked out there, even if he had like that goofy grin on his face before the promo started. And even do all the Netflix mumbo jumbo and all that stuff. But then like say, hey, look, I'm here to get down to business. This is my last year in WWE. This is my last year as an active competitor. And this is what I'm doing. I'm going to the Royal Rumble. And I'm going to win the dang Royal Rumble. And then I'm going to become the world champion at WrestleMania. For, obviously he needs to John Cena this up a little bit, like to make it work in front of a crowd of 20,000 people. But I think people want to see and get behind Cena on a journey towards that 17th title, not have it be some like, yeah, if I get it, I get it. If not, like no biggie. And so to me, like when I look at this, I'm like, okay, I think they landed in a good spot. Like you got John Cena on this chase to the 17th World Championship. That was the end game. But you need Cena to play along with this and like actually make it feel like a big deal and something that he really cares about and not something he's just kind of jumping through the hoops for. So that stood out to me in a big way. I like Cena going on this chase, but I need some serious bone in his body to like show itself and take some care in this really, really nice goodbye tour and push that he's going to get in 2025. So that's my Cena take. Go ahead.
Yeah. Did you see any of his press conference stuff? On top of
I
that?
did not.
So he was back there and he was kind of, subdued. It was like, hey, what I said out there, I think he's still obviously a character, but he's like, I don't know how, I want this big grand final tour and I say what I mean, like December 2025, that's it. I'm done. I'm in a suit. I'm not wearing jorts, all that stuff, right? He's like, I just don't know how much I have in me, basically. I'm 48, all that stuff, right? Which I think is him doing the modesty thing to a better extent because it's in a subdued press conference setting than in the middle of a ring in front of 17,000 people. So I think there are bones to this that, I'm more in alignment with you on this, where you don't want it to be like, Super Cena 2.0, and he's just rolling through people and it's just like catchphrase and go in there and all that stuff. But you do want him to be serious, and you want him to have belief in himself like a babyface would. And I think the story they're going with here is, calling up all that stuff, him losing for 2,000 days in a row, or whatever, even though he thinks he won a tag match in there. Yeah. But, I think he's going to lose. I think the long story here is like he's going to lose the Rumble. And, if let's say it's going to be him and Cody, let's just say that hypothetically. Like, both guys are going to want to be babyfaces at the end of it. They don't want it to be Hogan and Rock at 18, right? Which I think is certainly a possibility here if you're Cody.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know what the politicking is behind the scenes there. The story seems to me of, like, Cena loses the Rumble, locks in, wins the Chamber to get that shot, and then you can have those two going on where Cody, like, gives him a pep talk before the Chamber, and that's the reason he gets the title shot. And they're, like, amicable, but you still got to do, like, 6 promos against each other before the main event of WrestleMania or the Saturday night main event, the way it's headed, probably.
Yeah.
But, so I agree with everything you're saying. I just think that's, like, the story they've decided to tell. And, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this, I need him to be confident in what he's doing.
Yeah, don't you think, though, that, like, I think that he could say all of the things that you just said. And, like, that to me makes for, even if it's all true or not true, it doesn't really matter. I think that, like, somebody like Cena can pull that off in, like, a live environment and get down to, like, the nitty gritty emotions in this. Like, holy crap. Like, I signed up for this tour. I'm 48 years old and I got my sights set on this, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I could do it. I'm going to try. Like, I think you could, like, if you want to pitch and have doubtful Cena out there, you could still do that in a serious way without him acting all goofy, right? Am I being overcritical? Like
no. I think they have a different decision with this character and what that is. Like, right. If he's got the main call there, like, do I think it's right? No, but I think they, like, I don't know. I bet Triple H agrees with you too. He probably was like, I don't know about this, man. Like,
damn you, John.
Yeah, like, but it can work too. It's not the end of the world either. I think you agree with that too. But, like, yeah, him building back up to that point. It's just like that. That's so critical. If it is going to be Cena Cody, like, managing both those egos and both those babies because they're so similar.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of need Cena to be the underdog to a Cody who's been extremely dominant.
That's fair.
But not have so, like, because if you do Super Cena coming in, it's just not that kind of company anymore, right? It's not the company where, hey, Goldberg gets to come in and beat Bray Wyatt for the title just because he's Goldberg. Yeah, and that's like a story you could tell. It's not The Rock coming in and beating Punk for it, right? There's lots of that in the past, but it just doesn't feel like, if you were to pick it right now, I don't think I would pick Cena to win that match. If it was WWE 5 years ago, I certainly would think he's going to win that match because he's a big star and he's back and he wants a title run, so we'll give it to him. So using him to, like, wanting the crowd to cheer for him while Cody probably puts him down and then Cena gets it back later, if against Cody, but somebody else, I think is probably the long-term story where, like, he lost the Rumble, but then he won the Chamber, but then he lost, just like the Cody story, right? You should have to do it more condensed time and do that, like, last run where he gets, I don't think you need to do Bryan Danielson where he, like, wins it December 25th or whatever. But I think that's what they're going for here. Is it going to work effectively? I don't know. I think him certainly, like, it'd be great if, like, 2 weeks from now he was the main event of Raw and he beats Chad Gable to, like, get his feet wet, get in the ring with somebody good. If that's, like, the case and he's like, okay, cool, I got that win, thanks everybody. Like, I can get with this character if he, like, slowly progresses in front of us. we'll see.
That's fair. That's a fair response, and that could be compelling. Got some thoughts on a lot of people going back and forth on this in the live chat. And Sean's got a super chat for us here, so let me get to that. Thank you so much, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Sean says here, Cena needs to be serious. Everything with him feels so phoned in. He acted like a moron. So Sean's on more in my camp, I think, in terms of like how he acted yesterday. Now, so Sean, I agree with you. Like, it doesn't mean he's going to act like that moving forward. You don't know. Apparently, the press conference, he was more, like a normal human and less like a billboard, which is good. But yeah, I mean,
did you freeze or did I freeze? Chat, help me out. Because if I'm the one talking, then I can take right over for him. But yeah, he froze. Okay, great. Well, Zach's face tells it all, and I agree with that. So we'll let him jump out because I don't have any control on the board with our new setup here at 1. So yeah, Cena got to Zach. That's why I didn't want to tell him that. Yeah, like you shouldn't talk about Cena because he works the board here. Actually, that's what he's been doing during his losing streak. But yes, Zach said. So, but look, he took himself out, and he'll be back shortly. So I will keep talking about Sean's super chat here as I get in my correct box on the screen. You can tell I'm just totally dependent on Zach when we're together to be coherent, because I'm the one that just projects interesting questions to Zach, doing all the newsman stuff, all the hard stuff, the straight guy stuff. So appreciate him for that. But yeah, I mean, I do think it needs to be more serious. I don't know if the over-under for you guys, like, I'm sure people out there are like, hey, Cena is for sure winning a 17th world title during this run. And I guess some people probably are like 100% he's not. I'm more in the middle. I guess I would just I see that, Darren. Yeah, I should. I have an Arn Anderson shirt, so I should put that on and confuse him and talk about Glocks upon carjackings. But, I don't think it's – I guess I would lean more towards the not winning the title during this run. It depends, the ego of Triple H making that decision of having Cena get it over Ric Flair. And, you can also say Ric Flair is 19, so I guess there's that argument as well. But also just like, does he have it in the ring? Is he that big of a star to carry it and have it mean something? When you have 2 world titles, yes, that means something. But if it's Roman and Cody both having world titles, different than, Cody and Gunther, right? Like Cena beating Gunther is a different situation than Cena beating Cody or Roman. That's why I think what I just laid out, is the path for him there. So I cannot control the super chat buttons either or pop anyone on and off the screen. So we're going to move on. Sean, thank you for your super chat as always. And I see Zach. There you go. It was him this time. So
I'm here.
Yeah, I kind of wrapped up the Cena thing unless you want to give any other final words in. I guess my one thing was like, are you like, where are you like percentage wise, like 0 to 100 that John Cena wins a world title in 2025?
90.
90. Okay. That's why I'm like 40.
40?
Maybe. Yeah.
Wow.
I just think it's like, I think locking it in, and that's, I guess, why I'm not as critical on it, because he's, to me, more of a, and who had it earlier? Was it Darren? Yeah. Darren had the spectacle thing. Like, he is truly a spectacle act at this point and not really a character in current WWE. So him going over many things. So that's interesting because, like, like you're a bigger Gunther fan than I am, right? So I think you get more upset with things, and I'm a bigger Seth fan than you are, right? For like who I think I would put at the top, and like we each get more upset about those guys when their characters treated in a way that we think is not just, right? So I think it's kind of that too going on, just psychoanalyze both of us.
It is interesting how your perspective on like where things where you expect things to go, like, can change your thought on where things actually stand. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I think, like, if you knew that Cena was going to come in and this was going to be like some kind of run like he had with Austin Theory, you're like maybe on a higher level. Like, yes, I think that means a little bit. I wouldn't be as worried about it, but so yeah, it's a good good call out there. Yeah, apologize for the craziness with the internet. Like, my internet is like, it just went completely out. So I'm on like the little mobile hotspot, right? Like, my wife was just like, "Is the internet out?" Like, she's watching like some show downstairs, yeah. So she's even more mad than I am. So, all right, let's talk about Hulk Hogan. I mean, God dang, that was something. It was something last night. Talk about a swing and a miss from the WWE perspective. I continue to be befuddled as to why they keep thinking that he's got value to them in 2025 and in 2024 and in 1999. Like, I don't know. It's just like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, even if you take away all the politics and all the the racist comments and the lack of apologizing for them, like all of that, even if you put that aside, and you can't and you shouldn't, but let's just, for sake of argument, let's do it. There's still no value there. Like, it's just like, I don't think he brings you anything. He's not a good promo anymore. He can barely move. He doesn't look like the old Hulk Hogan. He doesn't talk like the old Hulk Hogan. There's just no reason to have him on the show. And then you put all that baggage back in, and there's even less of a reason. So no surprise that he got, I was a little surprised that he got that reaction just because it's Hulk Hogan, and, WWE fans have, cheered Vince McMahon, like the same night that terrible allegations come out about him. So, like, you never know how people are going to react to certain things, but hopefully this puts a pin in using Hulk Hogan again. And I couldn't help but kind of chuckle as this is going on. I'm just like, oh man, you should have seen this coming from a million miles away, and you didn't.
Yeah, I was only hoping that, there was a phrase that the crowd was chanting for Solo at the beginning of his match with Roman. And it didn't get bleeped out, thankfully. That was one of the best production touches, to not have like the weird bleep and then audio coming through. Oh my God, yeah. But I was hoping that would have been the pinnacle for heat for, like, I guess that's like good heat for Solo in 2025, and Hogan had bad heat last night, obviously. But I was hoping for that. But yeah, it's so much like the Ric Flair thing in AEW, isn't it? Like, the energy drink is like I bet the beer is paying for his appearances, is what like Triple H would tell you, because they're paying to be like, you can buy the beer in the concourse at all these events. So that's probably what, like, that's why he got to go out there. Is going to be the reasoning, if I had to guess. But yeah, I think Tracy makes a good point here. Like, I think that's like a lot of, like, what Ted Sarandos is the CEO of Netflix. He's there. He was there at least at the beginning. I don't know if he was there at that point. Probably not. But probably a helicopter on the roof to get out of there. But just like that, just seems like, hey, there's a key demo that watched us on cable of 50-year-old white guys that grew up loving Hulk Hogan, right? So we'll have him on the show. So, like, hey, you might see Hogan on WWE. Like, was that a good decision? No. But, it played out, and the crowd told you what they want. And the crowd's right. That's what Vince used to think and know, and it worked out for him. Look at Roman, right? Everyone wanted to be a heel. He was a heel. It worked out great. Cena would be even more of a legacy character if he had a heel run. If he had a heel run here, I think that'd be incredible. But yeah, same thing. Just like, you gotta listen. And if you have him out there again, he's either got to be Hollywood Hogan, or he's got to be, Mr. Patriot or whatever. So, and be like, I'm not Hulk Hogan. I'm just the beer spot. Mr. America, yeah. Do that and whatever. But
oh no.
Yeah, it was not good, and it made me feel good as a modern wrestling fan that happened, because we're not a monolith of like, hey, just because you were a great legend doesn't mean we get to cheer you. And that's in every sport and entertainment thing too, right? There might be a show or a player on your favorite team that is a POS, and you don't have to cheer them every time they come out there on, midfield.
100%. And yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to see him again after that. Like I really hope not. Because I think you saw what people think of him. Darren dropped us another very generous super chat. Thank you, Darren. Darren says here, no reason to have him in general for all that, but also red and yellow Hogan died after the NWO Hogan. It was a horrible idea. It was the dumbest thing I could have ever imagined. It was shoot heat. Yeah, no, it was. It was like, wait, we're here to watch like a wrestling show, and you're gonna just come out here and like just like try to shill your beer like that. In all likelihood, is terrible, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I never.
Just like that context of it too is also like, I don't know. Like people see right through that as well. Of like you're just here to make a buck off of us for the millionth time too, which is like even if you take everything away, it is still like at least Undertaker's out there not being like, hey Rhea, good job. I'll have you on the podcast or something. That'd be like, oh my god, what are we doing? So like at least even he knows it, right? And is there like I haven't thought about this beyond this as it popped in my head here, but could anyone else have gotten more heat in that arena last night than Hulk Hogan? I mean, anyone on the face of the earth.
No, I mean maybe Logan Paul if he was actually in there, but
he was. I mean, he was there. He was in the crowd.
Oh, he was. That's right. Yeah. So no,
he got booed a little bit. I mean, like if Tony Khan walks out there, he's like, that's the enemy, right? Like he probably getting like half like, oh my god, this is crazy. People be popping because they'd be like, what's going on here? So there's like not even like in that wrestling tribalism thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Dave Meltzer. I don't know. Depends on the crowd.
Oh, man, I'm really trying to think of somebody that would get booed.
Yeah, or just in the regular world too.
Yeah,
Vince. I think even Vince doesn't get booed like that. If I'm being honest with you.
No, definitely.
I think which is kind of like crazy to be like, who's the biggest heel that is going to think they're a babyface when they come out there? So it's crazy.
Yeah, he got what he deserved. He got what he deserved yesterday. Hopefully, there's got to be a part of Triple H that's just like, God dang it! Like, really, got to bring this guy back? Like, I can't imagine. Triple H is a lot of things, but he's not stupid, and I don't. Mm-hmm. There's no way he's thinking this is a good idea. Like, let's definitely put Hogan on as this babyface guy, and like this has to be some sort of business dictate that he's just, hey, make it work there, brother.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, he probably hates Hogan, right? I don't think they've ever had like, So like, it's probably he knew what was going to happen. It was like, hey, we got like, whatever. Like, I'm going to get my bonus because I just got $5 million from this stupid beer company. So let's have him go out there once and get pooped on.
He probably piped the booze in.
Yeah. So, and then he was probably laughing up, looking at what was trending, and it was booed, Hogan, non-Hogan, whatever. It was like half the trending things were Hogan getting booed out of oblivion. So,
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to Zach's super chat because it's been sitting here for a while, and we've been, singing WWE's praises here. They had a good night at the office yesterday. No question, Hogan aside. Although, you could definitely spin that into a good night at the office, seeing him getting booed that way. But Zach's super chat's important. Zach says here, WWE made the WWE brand, getting in bed with Saudi Arabia, platforming a racist, and being sued for sex trafficking and enabling pedophilia, the star of the show. So the argument that Zach's making here is that the WWE brand is accepting of Saudi Arabia business. It's accepting of doing business with Hulk Hogan like they did last night, and is accepting of, having enabled Vince McMahon for so long for him and doing what he's accused of doing. I don't know.
I can go first if you want, if you need to.
Yeah, go first, because I need to formulate like this early thought on this. So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, I agree with Zach. I usually do on a lot of things that, the WWE brand does all those things, right? and it's been a criticism that we've had for a long time of it. And I think a lot of giant corporations do stuff like that as well. So, that's all there and well and good. If I'm like put in Triple H's spot, I do the exact same thing since I've taken over. We kind of redo the brand image of WWE to take it away from the Vince branding, and you make it what it was last night, and you make it something that isn't all those things, and it helps you forget about it from like a business stance. Like that's the best thing you can do if you're going to not shut down the company. Because what's the real thing you do, right? Do you open the show last night? Netflix doesn't want this either. Yeah, you don't open the show last night with like a headline of Vince McMahon is, pooping on people. Well, all that stuff, right? Yeah. Like that's not the way to. You don't like highlight that stuff, and that's, there's no good way to really do it, right? To own it, you just kind of move on, and that's just what you do in corporate America, not just WWE. So they handle it the best way. They've redone the brand. They've got a new era and all that stuff. And, you can criticize them for those actions, of course. And, you can get into the whole thing like we did when it came out of like what did and didn't all the people that are still in power know that was going on. You can draw your own conclusions there. But if you were dropped into the spot and you had to make it work, this is what you would do. So it's like, I know it's two sides of the argument there, but like that's exactly what you need to do when all this is floating around is you need to reestablish the brand on a new platform and go forward. You need to have Hulk Hogan being booed the biggest black eye in the company. So that's kind of a win as well.
I think that's correct. I mean, I think that the WWE brand, like you can see that they're working to make certain pivots on that brand so that people look at the company a little bit differently. And a lot of that has to do with Vince McMahon. I mean, last night there was no mention of Vince McMahon. You had mentioned of like pro wrestlers from like the 1910s in that opening montage, and no mention of Vince, no mention of Vince's dad, none of that. You had a WrestleMania this year that was like a celebration of Vince McMahon not being there anymore. Like how many times? I mean, they highlighted that new era, the Paul Levesque era, so many times. So they're trying to pivot on that. The Hogan thing, we just talked about that. Like there's no defending that anymore. Like there's no value in it. There is no business in Hulk Hogan, so they should be done. And like the only thing that like nobody's gonna get past is the Saudi Arabia relationship. It's unfortunate and it's damning because they pay so much money for these shows and it's such good business for the WWE to take that they're going to take it. They're going to take it, and they're going to take it under the guise of, well, we're going there and we're going to help, change that culture. Women weren't allowed to wrestle there. Now they are. That is going to be the story. That is going to be the narrative, for better or worse. And I think at that point, just like with other company, with other major corporations, like everybody makes their call. Everybody makes their call. Like I can walk up to this line, but I can't cross that line. And I think people will make that call with WWE, and WWE is going to have to suffer the consequences of that. If 10 million Netflix subscribers decide, forget it. Like, the business of Saudi Arabia and WWE is a turnoff, and I'm not a part of that. Like, that's going to have an impact. Clearly, not enough people have done that. Not enough people have made that that issue and that reality with Saudi Arabia a sticking point for them. So on they go. But everybody's going to make that call for him. The thing with Vince and the thing with Hogan, I think you're seeing in real time, like them trying to like face it. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to not really address it, but also get past it at the exact same time. They're trying to like juggle that, and there's hits and there's misses, If they end in the right spot, that's what's most important. Me sitting here as like a human, it's like, hey, own up to it, and go. I also, though, can look at the world and be like, I just don't think that's how this goes in situations like that when so much is involved. Because you're right, like they're not going to shut down the company. Like ultimately, that's probably what should happen. Like if you're going to take this like fully seriously, you cut bait with everybody, and either you start fresh or you just get rid of it. And obviously, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and would any of us choose that right now? Like, would you choose like morally to like let's shut down WWE? Like, I'm not. Like brings a lot of joy in my life. So, there's a lot of things like I like a lot of sports, and like, yeah, I love watching football. There's lots of stuff that happens there that like I shouldn't really be supporting, but I've been brainwashed by American culture. So I don't know what to tell you.
Tracy's got a really good point here as a super chat too. Tracy says, how much spectacle does it take for public to forget? Not much, it seems. Yeah, I would agree with that, Tracy. I don't think it takes much when it comes to people's entertainment, especially. So whether it's a movie or it's an actor or actress or sport, especially sports teams. I mean, man, like even in Chicago here a few years ago, you had this terrible the sexual abuse scandal in the Chicago Blackhawks, like during their Stanley Cup era run. And, it got, people were like up in arms about it, but then like, unfortunately, the news cycle passed and then just went away because people want to watch the Blackhawks. They want to watch their hockey team. Like it. So I think you're spot on, Tracy, and it's not, I wish you weren't spot on with it, but I think you are, especially when it comes to entertainment. Tyler?
Yep, I agree. I mean, yeah, outside of everything in sports and entertainment and regular life, right? Like people just move on to the next thing. Very few things do we recall forever that someone has done and hold it against them too, which is like a pro and a con. That's like a whole nother philosophical debate of at least American culture, of like wanting, to tear people down to build them back up or vice versa. So that's like not exactly the point of this conversation, but that's a very American tale to have this discussion and why it is important to us and why we do forgive or forget, and maybe not, sometimes those aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I think, the important thing is for, or at least what I try to do on this show is just, you call it like it is, right? You call out what we just did with Hogan. You call out situations like we did with Vince and Saudi Arabia. I mean, we've been talking about Saudi Arabia for 7 years now, and you have to talk about that like when you talk about the high highs. And so, I think it is appropriate. That's why I was kind of saving the super chat from Zach, because, you don't want to forget it. You don't want to forget it. And, everything, you have to look at the whole picture in the context of all of that together. And hopefully we do a good job with that on this show. Thanks, Tracy. Appreciate the super chat. Darren in his chat says here, without making judgment either way, were you surprised that the Saudi Arabia move didn't get huge blowback? Great show, y'all. Last question for me tonight. Well, thanks, Darren. We certainly appreciate the contributions. It means a lot. It helps us out a lot. Thank you. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. I wish I would have been, but WWE has been setting the table for this for years, in doing big business and big shows in that country. And, I bet you, I have no news or no insight to prove this with.
I agree. I agree with what you're about to say.
Go ahead and say it. Finish the sentence.
That there's going to be a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. I don't know if there will be, but you can bet that they have asked for that to come there. And they are setting the table for this. That is what this is. Yeah. We'll just do this one greatest Royal Rumble event. And then we're going to sign this 10-year deal, and it's or whatever deal it is, and it's going to be 2 shows a year, but they're going to be separate from WWE programming. And now they're like smack dab in the middle of it. And now we're having a big Raw. Like, you can bet that this is part of a plan, and they're executing it for a lot of money. And so, no, I wasn't surprised, because I think they've tuned up their audience to accept that this is a reality.
Yeah. And I am also curious, like, mentioned it once, I think, on the broadcast. Do I have that right? I can't remember a second time where that was named, because they showed that was like that was before Cena came out. This was announced. The Riyadh Royal Rumble. I'm trying to think if it happened more than once, because they were. But anyway, like, I would bet, especially the way they underplayed it, like when the actual question here from Darren was like, not getting huge blowback. I think a vast majority of the audience was like, not paying super close attention, or is under the assumption like what you kind of just said there, that any Saudi Arabia event is like a non-canon event, so to say, right? It's a off pay-per-view. It's the March pay-per-view. It's the September pay-per-view. It's whatever, right? And I don't think everyone has had the full realization that next year when you want us to Royal Rumble, it's going to be on at like noon on a Saturday, and it's going to be in Saudi Arabia, and you can't go. Like, there's people who, what's super fan Smiles guy going to do? He's not going to Saudi Arabia and going to sit front row there. So, not that I care about him and him being there, but like, I think people have not, I don't think people have like fully comprehended like what that means, and that there's not a Royal weekend. Same thing when that happened. So I think people just don't like assume like, well, no way that's the actual Rumble. They're just calling an event in Saudi Arabia the Rumble for them, right? So I think there's like a strong 30% of the audience who hasn't like fully grasped that at this point. So that's why I think there's not a ton of blowback on this yet.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate you, man. Awesome question. And thanks, Zach, for the original topic. Good stuff. All right. A couple more things, and then we're going to ride off into the sunset here. CM Punk beat Seth Rollins in the middle of the ring, straight up, clean. Both of us, when we previewed the show last week, said that it kind of had to go this way, just given the trajectory of where both are at and where both are going. I like this match a lot. I'm curious as to what you thought of the match itself, because I thought it was a pretty good match, and like probably CM Punk sets a second best match. No, hasn't had that many, so whatever. You can't put too much stock in it. But I thought it was the second best match. I thought there was drama. I liked kind of the ruggedness of it, even if it was by accident, which I think it probably was. Like in this instance, like the lack of it being like really crisp didn't hurt the match for me. Like, it made it feel like, damn, this is a fight. So I liked what they did. And I liked that there was no shenanigans. I liked the clean finish. I think that's either way. If it was going to be Seth beating Punk or Punk beating Seth, it was you do this one clean. And I thought they did right by the match by treating it that way. Yeah,
a completely different match than the opening match, which is good to show like the versatility if you watch all night on Raw. But also that's like, they knew that was the real fans were watching at this point too, right? Where if people are going to jump in for 8 minutes, and that counts as each minute counts as like needing what Netflix needs on this event. Yeah. So, I mean, I liked this match. I think it was 90% a Seth Rollins carried performance. I didn't love the finish. I hope they like that comes back of like Seth, kicked his ass the entire time. And then to have Punk, kind of luckily in storyline psychology wise, you're more the psychology guy than me, but having Seth control the entire match and then Punk get the GTS where he kind of knocks out Seth, right, by hitting his head on the rope and then hitting another one that he can't even get him up.
Yeah, well, he kind of got a lucky bounce, Like, I think that was the story, though. Like, to me,
yeah. So
I think that's what it was.
And if that's what they do, that's fine. I like that story of going there and you moved on from Seth, but there's more there that Seth can bring up. So that's fine. yeah, like the grittiness of it was on display. It's there's a couple points there, like when Punk put his foot on the middle rope to break the pin. Like Seth was down there, like telling him, like, hey, like it was weird to see Seth like really calling that match for Punk. And I don't know if that was like Punk had like hit his head and was kind of out of it, and like Seth needed to like guide him through it, or what? Because like I don't think those two guys needed that, but I like could not watch past that in the match of Seth calling it completely, and Punk kind of being on the ride in storyline and in real life at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, but Punk had to get the win. He's the guy they're going with at the time, and yeah, you only have so much time with him and so many matches. So, I would do the same thing. And also, we got to stop. Like, apparently, these new Raw tables are beyond Randy Orton proof. They're everybody proof. So we got to be like mindful of that too going forward.
Why can't these guys break the dang tables? Like what?
I don't know.
They're
like building them too strong
that they break anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to like, because I think it could go one of two ways with Punk. Like if they've got another idea for Roman, or like if some reason, let's say The Rock does all of a sudden, whatever, he gets the bug after this weekend and he wants to come in and do it. You're gonna do it, and so you still have Punk out there. Like you could do another match between these two at WrestleMania and just have Seth. I think Seth has to like go heel if that happens. Just have him just torture Punk and like screw him out of the Rumble, screw him out of the Eliminate. Everything that's important to him in 2025, like Seth ruins it. And then you get to like the big grudge match. So if they want it, like they can have it. They can have another one.
For sure. And that story's fine, and that's I think more appropriate for where both these guys are currently than either of them. But it's also kind of like how many dancing partners do you have? Like they're guys that you elevate. They're slightly above Damian Priest and Gunther in my mind, but Cody, Roman, and Cena done effectively are the three top tier guys compared to those two in the middle. Yeah. And then
Yeah. All right, so we'll finish up with this question. Who did it better on streaming last? Like we talked at the top of the show, like the dynamics between AEW on Max and WWE on Netflix, and like taking it all into account, like what how do you analyze the two companies, now firmly in their respective streaming homes?
Yeah, I mean, certainly WWE took more advantage of like, hey, we have a new audience. Here's like a huge show. Here's like a new version of it. If you haven't been around for a while, here's some approachable things, but here's the cast and characters that you want in like a very, like to us to people that watch wrestling week in and week out, it's annoying because it's like, okay, like you never play up to us. You're always playing to someone else. And AEW doesn't do that. Yeah. So like, I thought AEW did a good job for like,
that, man. Yeah.
Hey, here's, hey, I know we probably have 20,000 new viewers or 50,000 new viewers. So here's like all our stars for you. But the show looked the same. Presentation was the same. They just do that thing where it's, hey, it's a new era. And, I don't think it's like a pro or con. I think it's just the way that the philosophy of both companies, right? So I think both took advantage of presenting, hey, here's all our biggest stars. And please watch us, and giving you good reasons for both. But, it's hard to argue the entire presentation conversation we had at the top of the show to say anything but WWE getting it like up on AEW. There's different companies. I mean, it's like weird to compare them at this point.
It is. It really is. It's hard to, yeah. I mean, it really is. But you answered it the same way that I was going to, which is not like, I think both companies are, as I said at the top, smart to be on a streaming platform. I think where AEW missed isn't the fact that they're on Max or wherever they are. It's just, I don't think they took advantage of the moment the way WWE did. Like you got to harness that. And that's where, and I think that's, if you look up and down AEW, like, I think that's there a lot, where you just don't quite take full advantage of Bryan Danielson's retirement. You just don't quite take full advantage of Kenny Omega being the star that he is. You just don't take quite full advantage of having CM Punk or Cody Rhodes in the building when you do. So I think that's a story, and that's a kind of a criticism you can apply to them for a lot of it. And I think that was on display here. I think it's a good a really good call out. Zach's got a super chat here, and I do agree with him on this. Zach says here, we cannot end this show without mentioning Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd. What an incredible match from a guy who hasn't wrestled in 13 months. So have you seen this yet, Tyler?
I haven't. I need to.
Okay.
It's on New Japan World, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's epic. It's great. Great match. I agree with Zach.
So it was like 41 minutes, right, or something.
Yeah, it was long,
like
but
long,
but it was like an earned long. Like I think that you're not. I wasn't yawning at the end of it. I was fulfilled as a viewer. So we'll talk too much about the specifics. Maybe we'll talk about it on the member show a little bit later this week or something like that. But it is a tremendous match, Zach, and it's a match where you go, dude, whatever you're doing in AEW, pivot to Kenny Omega now. Like pivot to him, like right now.
Yeah. He's
as hot as he's going to be. And it's your job as the big national company to make him hotter. Like that's the mission. And he, do it. He's the most talented guy that you have. And this is, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts. So maybe we'll table that for the members.
And maybe that's the plan, right? With Ospreay kind of sputtering and all that, Swerve doing stuff outside. Really know when they're ready to beat Moxley. Yeah, you have him beat Moxley. You have him and Okada for the title at All In. I mean,
there you go.
What a different company that is. That's a spectacle as well. So
and people want to see. People, as we talked about last week, people like Kenny. He's got a special aura to him, and he kind of has, his AEW roots. And go with him. Promote him like he is freaking Hulk Hogan in 1986. Like that's what I would do here. Like, do it. There you go. But we'll talk more about it. But Zach, good to bring it up. Probably the best match of the weekend. So good call on that. And thanks for the super chat. Guys, we'll wrap it up there. Great show. Thanks everybody who tuned in. Thanks for all the super chats, our super chatters, Sean and Darren and Zach and Tracy. Really appreciate it. And to all of new viewers and the new eyes that we were talking with today, thank you so much. And hopefully you guys come back. We are live with the show twice a week, Tuesday nights, Thursday afternoons, the Brass Ring Media podcast right here on the One True Sport YouTube channel. We do have our own YouTube channel for Brass Ring Media where our other content lives. You can check that out, subscribe for free. We also have a Substack newsletter, where all of our written work goes. That's also free to subscribe to. You can check that out. And for just $4 a month, you can become a Brass Ring Media member and get a ton of bonus and member-only content each and every single week. You can learn more about that on Patreon, patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. Thanks to everybody once again. Tyler, any final words?
Nope. I'm good.
All right. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday nights. Thank you so much. I'm Zach. That's Tyler. We'll talk to y'all real soon. See ya.